topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart.
Hello and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaksan. I'm a core alignment coach, which means I support people in seeing choices they have to better align their actions with their values. I also support people in emotional wisdom training so that we can use our emotions wisely rather than be run by them or be flooded by them. And I've been a diversity educator for many years. And if you're interested in seeing any of my coaching options for groups or individuals or diversity trainings, you can look at samples on my website, which is knowwhatyouvantcoaching.wordpress.com. And let me just say happy Halloween to anyone who celebrates Halloween, and hope people are enjoying El Dia de los Muertos, which is just a wonderful Mexican holiday that's relatively new to me, which I really appreciate. Just a time of reunion with the souls of family members who have passed away, with lots of food and celebration and drink and honoring our ancestors. I just love that, El Dia de los Muertos as well. And I am so excited because there is a 7-piece NorCal band who are my guests tonight. They are Cowboys After Dark, and they're going to rock a fundraiser for this very podcast. And I'm so grateful to them. I wanted to dedicate this show to them, and let's just give them much more exposure because they deserve it. So if you can bring them all out at once. And thank you to our engineer. There's a little logo about our fundraiser, which we can see that. It's Your Voice podcast fundraiser at Sudwork Brewery in Davis, California, which will be a week from tomorrow. It'll be November 9th. This is 2023 on a Thursday. Starting at 4, if you go in and just buy a beer, a meal, anything, Sudwork is going to generously donate a percentage of everything bought that night to keep the podcast on the air, to keep the show going. And this lovely group of young people are going to play music from 7 to 9, and they are they are phenomenal. Welcome, Henry. Let me just read a little bit about Cowboys After Dark is a 7-piece NorCal-based band of college students. The Cowboys play everything from Zeppelin to Selena at an eclectic assortment of events, from college house parties to restaurant dinners, which will be what happens at the fundraiser, featuring epic drum solos, innovative rearrangements, and electric high-energy performances. Cowboys After Dark shows will always have you on your feet. I can vouch to that. Just incredible. You guys make people want to dance. Look at those beautiful photos for those who are watching on a video stream. Check it out. Thank you. I just have to thank y'all again. And I'll just, Eric Aguilar, thank you so much for being kind of introducing me to the other Cowboys, through your friendship with my son. And Bernadette, thank you so much for being open. And Henry, to all of you agreed to dedicate time. And I really know artists are asked to volunteer many things, and I I don't like to tax people who are like really talented musicians. So I really hope this is a way to give back to y'all, because I so appreciate what you're going to do for this podcast, which means a lot to a lot of people.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us. We're very excited to be here.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, excited.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I have a lot of questions because I don't know the answers to them. But am I right that Eric, did you start the band? Were you the originator of this group? Yeah.
We've gone through different variations of the band, but here we are, still going strong. It all started out with a piece of paper that I put out around town looking for bandmates, and that's how the band started.
And go ahead.
Sorry, and Bernie's like one of the first ones that started the band with me pretty much from the start.
I missed the name? Did you say Bernadette was?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the second or third day of my freshman year of college, I saw his little ad that said, "We need a singer." And I was like, why not? So we're still here. So worked out.
Well, I'll come back to both of you in a minute. But Henry, when did you see the banner or hear about it and join?
Yeah, so I just recently joined after the summer. So I started out as a fan of the band, I would say. I first saw them perform, I think it was Whole Earth Festival last year. And I just loved the instrumentation. Everything was great. The energy they brought, it was amazing. And then, yeah, it turns out one of my friends is good friends with Bernadette. So he let me know over the summer they're looking for new keys players. So I auditioned, and here we are.
Yay. And speaking of the instrument you play, does one of you want to, I can read the list of the members who aren't here, or does one of you want to name the people and what they play who are not able to be on our show tonight?
Yeah, we have Mason, who plays the drums for us. He's a Davis local. Eric knew him from a while ago. We've got Rosie on the trumpet, who is also, I think she started out also as a fan of the band. She came to see us play a few times and then let Eric know that she played trumpet, and now she plays trumpet for us. We've got Jacob on the saxophone. He comes from Chicago, I believe, and he's a PhD student here. And he happened to be roommates during his undergrad with a friend of Eric's, and so that's how they know each other. Then we've got Dewey on the bass, who also saw a flyer near the end of summer saying that we were looking for a bass player, and he responded to that. So that's how we found him.
Wow. And do y'all feel like complete? Like, does it feel like the seven pieces, and I know some of you are multi-instrumentalists, is that like, are you like good now? Like you don't feel any need to add, or I see you nodding, Eric.
It's a good size, a good setup, but we've been open to looking for like a low brass player for a while, like a trombone or something like that, but non-urgent. It's just an idea.
Oh, that makes sense. And here's a nice photo. Do you guys want Henry, tell us about this photo. Were you part of the band then?
I was not.
Eric, where was this? When was this interesting scene where people were like fainting with joy listening to y'all on this?
Was this a Halloween one?
No, that was our finale last year. We decided we wanted to throw a super big show to close out last school year in June, like the day finals ended, and there's a local house. It was called Turtle House. I don't think they throw shows anymore, but they were one of the bigger houses that threw shows, and they let us come and play on their porch. And we do a section of our set sometimes where Mason, our drummer, plays one of our Led Zeppelin songs, Moby Dick. It's got like a 5-minute drum solo in it, which he turns into like a 12-minute drum solo. And there's nothing else for the rest of us to do but lay on the floor and watch him play. So that's what we do.
Oh, that's why you're on the floor with your instruments.
Mhm,
Oh, that
mhm.
is hilarious. Oh my gosh. I wish everybody could see it, but they can check out the archives of our video shows. If you're just hearing us on the radio, these photos are really worth checking out. Well, I want to hear about each of your history as like picking up an instrument and becoming a musician. And again, if I can start with you, Eric, when did you start playing? And I'm also curious, like, how come you never quit? Because so many people like start, picking up the guitar, pick up something and play for a while. Then they're even those who would wish later on that they continue. What do you think that kept you going and
So
keeps
I
you?
started playing in 7th grade. It's a funny story. I was watching the show Full House, and it was John Stamos, and I saw his room with all these guitars hanging in the room, and that's what made me start. You know what? I want a guitar, and it started from there.
Hmm.
My dad bought me a used $40 guitar, which I wish I still had, but it's
Oh,
gone. And
there's a great photo of
yeah,
you.
after getting lessons a year later, I joined the jazz band for 3 years, and that's what kept me going for a while. Then after that, I joined here in Davis. There's a music school called Rock Band, which that's how I met my drummer Mason. It's a pretty much get random people to one place and you start a band, not knowing who they are, and for like 7 weeks you practice once a week, and after the 7th week you play a show around town, and that's what kept me going for a couple few years too, and here I am still playing to this day.
That's so cool. Let's hear Henry's story next. Where did you win and where did you start playing and what's kept you going to this point?
Yeah, so I was pretty young. My dad was a piano player, so naturally, I guess I wanted to learn as well. So he was my first teacher. Um, and then for a while, I'd say up until like 8th grade, I I did like classical lessons. So it's a different path of learning music and all that. But you said what kept me going and why didn't I quit? That's interesting because I actually did quit. I completely stopped like during high school, so I didn't really play at all in high school. Like I was still involved in music. I played French horn and a little bit of like jazz trumpet. But it wasn't until I came to Davis that I started playing piano again. And then I just didn't stop, and here I am.
How long have you been at Davis?
For about 3.5 years or so.
And was it like just like, like you were in a room where there was a piano? Like what drew you back to the piano since you had picked up a couple other instruments in between?
Yeah, it was COVID, all the extra free time. I was like, well, I should do something productive with this time, I guess. And then I, realized how much I loved playing, and yeah.
Great. Well, speaking of classical training, Bernadette, that makes me think of your background in vocals. Please take your time and let us know how you started.
Yeah, definitely. I started singing. I had an aversion to any like performance musical thing when I was little. I was like super, super shy. I couldn't even like talk in front of my class, and so my mom made me do theater camp. So I would like stop being shy, I guess. And I really, really liked like singing musical theater and stuff like that. And when I was like 13, 14, I was like, Mom, please let me take voice lessons. Please, please, please. And so she let me, and all I wanted to do was like big pop and rock and theater and stuff like that. And almost immediately the like coach that I had was like, you're a classical singer. You should be singing classical. And so that's what I was taught. Like any professional training that I have is all like opera and in Italian or like Phantom of the Opera, like those sorts of things. And so I spent a couple years doing that. I also kind of fell off of it during COVID. It was just like, if what's the point sort of thing. And so I stopped singing for a little bit. And yeah, I didn't start singing again until I saw Eric's flyer and it said we need a rock singer, and I was like, well, that's not me, but why not try it? And yeah, I like it a lot. I almost like it better than singing classical. It's a lot more free and more fun.
Yeah, it was so fun to learn that after seeing your performance at the Oktoberfest at Sudwerk. Because like, I just think you belt out in a way that a lot of lead vocalists don't reach that level of like being able to just like, wow, just like blast it out in a very skillful way, like always in key, you know, always in beat. And I was like, dang, she's really, really, really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely, I think a lot of it is just it's way more liberating, because in the classical stuff it's just like, how perfect can you get it the whole time? It's like, how can you do it very technically correct and the same way every time? And all this stuff is just the opposite of it. You can just like let it rip, and I think that's the most fun thing ever. So
yeah, and you can change how you let it rip too, right? You don't have to just keep
it's different every time.
Well, let me hear what your like favorite song to sing is. Well, first of all, when I heard you, I think they were all covers. I'm not sure if I missed any, but do you have any originals yet? Are you working on originals, or is it just too much fun to just do covers because you're so darn good at it? Tell me first of all, one of you, about your any kind of original music writing, and then talk about how you chose to land on 70s and 80s covers.
Definitely. Because there's so many people in the band, we've definitely played around for the past year or more with original stuff and instrumentations and what we can do with it. And I think we just haven't produced anything yet that we feel is like ready and complete.
Mm-hmm.
But almost, I don't know too much about the Dewey and Henry, the two new people in the band who have been here with us for a couple months. But I know everyone else in the band writes original stuff and likes working on that stuff. We definitely all have a different sound, so I think it's just a matter of time and figuring out, like with our instrumentation, how we can kind of make a cohesive sort of sound happen. But everyone does write. Everyone has original stuff. But as far as our show goes, I think
Cool.
what we've landed on for the past year or so is just kind of just creating a show where everyone can have a good time. There's so many like awesome original bands in Davis that have music out on Spotify and stuff. And I think it's really fun when we play shows with those other bands to just kind of have the variety of like, we can hear this new stuff that they're writing, and then we'll turn it up. We'll do a party where everyone knows all them songs and you can dance and sing along and that sort of thing. So, and our favorite stuff is the 70s and 80s rock, which is kind of how we landed there. But we've definitely been branching out more in terms of genre and time period and stuff, and playing with arrangements, which has been super fun.
Wow. Well, Eric, I know that sometimes y'all go down to Santa Cruz. Do you play other town, cities besides Davis and Santa Cruz, or is that the only two I'm aware of?
We've done Berkeley, Folsom, all around the area. We've done
LA.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
A lot of equipment to move, definitely.
Yeah. And so the three of you each have written some songs that you're playing with or cultivating over time. Is that right?
I know we both have. I don't know about Henry.
I got some stuff, just a little bit.
I got some stuff. Well, that sounds like fun. I hope y'all stay together. I know it's 7 people, and that you get your other horn person, because I'm sure. Oh, I was just going to say, it takes time to have that organic process of taking one of your pieces at a time and developing it. But you're right, boy, do we love cover bands. You never wrote anything or shared anything original, that's okay. You still be highly popular.
Yeah. People like the things they know. It's always a good time to just rock out.
Yeah. Do y'all have any favorite? Oh, I love that photograph. Where was that taken?
This was at Whole Earth Festival this past April, actually. I'm sure if you zoom in, Henry's in the crowd somewhere, because I think this was his first show that he saw us at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun.
Oh, I see you, Henry. That's so funny.
Oh yeah, I'm up front. Yeah.
Up front.
Up front. Yeah, this was a super fun one, because all the students come out for it and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. And another thing I noticed is that it doesn't matter which generation people. I mean, there were little kids dancing, there were senior citizens dancing, college students, high school students, not just for one age group.
Most definitely. I think that's one of the most fun parts of when we pick out when we're making our sets for different gigs and stuff like that. It's super fun to just be like, oh, everyone's gonna love this song. Or I think a thing we've been doing more recently is taking newer stuff and funkifying it or rockifying it and making it a little more appealing to like people who might not know the newer stuff, and vice versa for the older songs, kind of modernizing them a little more and making it a little more showy and in your face.
How long does that take? Oh, look at that photo. Is that Bernadette? Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Can you describe what's happening to the radio listeners who can't see it?
Yeah, I mentioned Turtle House earlier. This was at, I think, the first show we played at Turtle House. And at a point, everyone was just going so crazy that I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump into the crowd and try to crowd surf. And so that's what this picture is. It's a great moment. What it doesn't show is that like 2 seconds after this, I was like dropped on the ground. But no one needs to know that. It's okay. But yeah, it's kind of one of our favorite things about the college scene and the house shows and stuff like that is that people just love to like get crazy and have fun, and crowd surf, let me crowd surf and stuff. So
do y'all what's happening in this picture? Is this
yeah, that's Rosie, our trumpet player. I believe this is at another one of the college house shows, one of the collectives that they get the bands together and they provide a space and they deck it out. I mean, you can see the lighting in that picture and stuff like that. And they bring a bunch of people out and have bands play, and it's a super great time. So yeah, that's a picture of Rosie ripping it out on the trumpet.
That's nice. How long has Rosie been apart? How long have you had a trumpet player?
I don't know.
Year and a half, maybe?
I think a year and a half. Rosie joined because we're the same age. Her and I are the same year. And we lived in the same dorm building, which we didn't know until after we moved out, which is funny. But she had come to see a bunch of our shows before she joined the band. And then Eric put up flyers that we were looking for more horn players because we just had the saxophone at the time. And so she responded to that and then played a couple shows with us, and she's been here since.
And Henry, what do you like? Do you want to stick with maybe the band just needs you to do keyboards, but do you want to also play the other instruments that at other times or other places or with this band sometimes that I just don't know of?
Well, right now I'm just focusing on keys. Like I can branch out to other instruments that are still keys based. I have an accordion I might bring out.
Oh yeah.
Just stuff like that. Yeah, but I think for now, just keys is what I can stick with. But again, I can branch out to other things with that.
You know, there's certain songs that are like really like keys important.
Mm-hmm.
And are those the ones you love the most because it's got the most keys involved?
Oh, of course.
That was a great photo too.
Mhm.
Eric, can you tell us what's going on here in this one?
Yeah, pretty much got going crazy. It was a hot day. It was during picnic day, and people in the house were just spraying people with water because it was going. It's just, no one they didn't want no one to pass out.
Oh yeah, that's most important. It's hot.
Yeah, it was a good time though.
It's good. In this one, we have a movement and video, and Bernadette, the way, and I am not at all comparing myself to you, but I have shared with Bernadette that I've sung in a couple of bands in the past, and I didn't realize until I was a vocalist how that you can't help moving. Like it's not like you plan your moves. Tell me if you relate to this. You just move, just like right? Musicians just move. You move to the beat, however it's moving you. And it was just fun. It was just so fun to see the way you move so freely and all over the place. And it always just, this might sound silly and like I'm stating the obvious, but it just like, it so matches. Like it's just an extension of how you're expressing the music. Can you just say any more about what it's like to like move when you sing, or what it's like to sing without when you can't move? Just anything along those lines.
Definitely. We've definitely been in situations where we have a super tight space, we played this restaurant in Santa Cruz one time. It was one of our most fun gigs ever, but they wanted to keep us on this little stage that was like 6 by 6 or something like that. And so I tried not moving, and I ended up just like walking through the restaurant with my mic because I couldn't do it. Yeah, I think it's super important in order to keep our energy up, to just kind of go where the music takes you in terms of movement. And so, yeah, I didn't even realize how much I move until our photographer brought it up to me and was like, hey, if you want some good pictures of you, I'm going to need you to like calm down a little bit because I can't work with this. But yeah, I think it's super important. And Eric moves around a lot too. Sometimes I turn around and Eric's like standing on top of the amps and the speakers and stuff and jumping off. I think it's super, super important to just go with the music and let the energy take you where it takes you. And I think if we're up there moving, then the crowd's going to be out there moving as well.
Definitely. I think it's an invitation for the crowd to get up. Yeah, Eric said, yeah, you do. Like, it's so fun to watch you too jump around and turn, and tell us something about it. What's it feel like?
Amazing. It's like, it's a feeling that's like hard to describe unless you're the one, Yeah, but I love it. I feel like I've seen so many bands, and most bands, they're just standing there and there's like just no energy, but I feel like with a great crowd and just the music, and it's hard not to move, It's like what Bernie was saying, just can't really stay still when you're playing. And I have a guitar on me and there's cables, but I make it work. I try to jump and lay down and jump over stuff if I can. That's all part of the show.
Yeah, it's like you're spontaneous yet aware of where the chords are. And that makes me think of Henry. Let's just go with you. Like, how much does energy from the audience impact how you play? Like, what if there's an audience that, I don't know if you ever have an audience that's not like fully alive and totally moving also, but what kind of difference does it make? I see another question. Let's take this one. Country Corners Gazette is asking, what is your favorite music genre?
Ooh.
We'll just start with Henry, because I said Henry, and then we'll go to
Okay.
Eric and Bernadette.
All right,
Thanks for the question.
that is really tough. So I enjoy like psychedelic rock, more into that area. But pretty much anything like blues based, I love a lot. Yeah, it's so hard to pick one though.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about you, Eric? Can you narrow down a genre or 3 or more?
Yeah, honestly, like I'm a big fan of any classic rock from the '70s, like Deep Purple, Electro Light Orchestra, all that, the Doors, all that good stuff. That kind of, But I mean, my music taste varies from like jazz to some like upbeat cumbias, Mexican music to some rock. It just varies. But yeah, but just classic rock.
Did you listen to a lot as you were growing up? Did you just listen to a ton of classic rock?
Yeah, my dad. Yeah, I grew up with music taste, so stuff you listen to.
Yeah, that's a major influence, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about Bernadette? You've said a little bit, but just add more about like if you have to narrow down your favorite singing genre.
Most definitely. I also have a very like eclectic taste. I like most things. I think to listen to. I'm really into like the whatever genre you would call like Talking Heads and like Trip Shakespeare right now. That's like kind of my thing. But to sing, it's definitely like Zeppelin sort of rock stuff. That and like funk would be my favorite stuff.
Thanks. Thanks, Country Corners Gazette, for another question here. Since you have horns in the band, do you play Stray Cat style?
What does that mean?
Like
I don't know who Stray Cat is. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with the Stray Cat
actually,
style myself.
Recently, we had a gig at our local music store, Armadillo. We play that kind of style, Stray Cat style. A lot of fun. Just change it up a little bit, with the horns. It adds a lot of juice to the band.
Horns do add a lot of juice to the band, that's for sure. Well, thanks for your questions. And I kind of want to go back to Henry about, do you feel like glued to the keys, or it's like, no, this is like heaven. Like I don't feel stuck. I'm just like, I'm moving with the keys. And also, how does the energy from the crowd influence you?
Yeah, so it is a little tricky because the keys stay put, right?
Yeah.
But you can definitely move around the keys. It's definitely doable, and just the energy from the crowd, like the energy from both the band and the crowd, they just both need to be there. One feeds the other; they feed each other. If you have, one side that's not really bringing that energy, it's just not the same. The energy in the air is just, it's hard to explain, but when you're there and you feel it, it's something that you just can't beat.
Do you guys want to add to that? The energy question about playing off of the energy of other, the 7 of you in the crowd?
Yeah, I think some of our favorite shows have been the ones where we're maybe not looking forward to it so much, or we're super tired, and then the crowd shows up with just like a crazy energy, and it just turns the whole thing around. And that's definitely happened a few times on days where we have like 3 gigs back to back, and we get to the last one and we're like, oh, I don't want to be here, and then the crowd's like super excited and screaming and really into it, and that completely turns it around for us. So the crowd's energy definitely takes it up a notch for us.
Thanks. Well said. But Eric, do you want to add anything to that?
Like Bernie said, like, there have been times for me, I'd be very tired from work or the day before, but the right crowd, forget everything. You just give it the best you can, always.
Cool. I noticed that. Thank you. Our sound engineer Rebel typed me a little note. Stray Cats is a rockabilly rock and roll band. Oh, I see. It's a band, a particular band. Okay, now I know. I love learning. Thanks for the listener who educated me about Stray Cats, and for Rebel, the sound engineer. So I'm curious. We have about 9 more minutes, so there's time for me to ask y'all. Like, what do you might not think about this at all. You know how sometimes, like, I'm just thinking day to day. So in some parts of my life, I'm thinking, well, in 5 years, blah blah blah, or But what are y'all thinking? We'll to go around again. Like, what are your thoughts you might have right now about like your future with music? Where you want to take it? Where you want it to take you?
For me, I mean, I'm not pursuing a career in music, but like some music so much that I see myself down the road, just hop in with a band, just jam out with them, or go to my local guitar center, just start playing and jamming out with people. How we see that's like it's like something that's gonna be with me forever. Makes me happy, and that's my future music. And something happens, But yeah, as long as I'm playing and whatever kind of music, I'm just happy with it. That's how I see it for me.
Wow, that's so nice. It's like it's just a part of your life, and it makes you happy, and you'll play, and jam, with who you're with, and when you'll seek it out and just be playing no matter what, without putting any kind of like pressure on yourself. Just like, hey, it's fun. I like it. It's part of my life. That's cool. How about you, Henry?
I'm pretty much the same exact mindset. It's something that makes me really happy, and I'm just gonna like focus on dedicating time to it in the present and just see where that takes me. So I mean, like Eric was saying, like if something happens, something happens. But if not, I'm happy where I'm at, just playing music.
How about you, Bernadette?
In a similar sort of manner. I don't see myself like necessarily pursuing anything performance based. But I think something that I've learned from like with Cowboys After Dark specifically is how much I love like the production and management aspect of like the musical world and that sort of thing. Cause I've been, I like get the opportunity to work a lot with like booking the band and putting together shows and stuff like that. So kind of on the opposite end of like music and performance, I definitely am trying to get involved in like concert management and artist management and stuff like that. So I see myself being involved in that respect. So
wow, that's interesting. And that's great because there's so many musicians who are not interested in that and would love your help with that.
It's most of them are not.
Wow. Well, speaking of that, do you have like a email you can like type into the chat and then Rebel can show it on the screen?
Yes.
If you want people to contact you, well, really, I mean, to ask Cowboys in the Dark. I'm sorry, Cowboys After Dark. What if they want to reach out to the band? What if they want you to play? Is there contact information you can type in the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put my email in here as well as our Instagram handle. You can reach us at both of those places.
Great. And I'm sure Rebel will work her magic. But in the meantime, why don't you say it out loud for people who won't be looking at the screen or on the radio? Can you say both your email address and your Instagram?
Yeah, you can reach me at my email, which is bernadettegrace25@gmail.com. And then you can also reach us through our Instagram DMs, and our Instagram is at Cowboys After Dark, all spelled out.
Thank you. And I wonder if Rebel, if you have a chance to show the logo again to let people know about the fundraiser, if anyone lives near or around Davis, please come see them live. They are really phenomenal. You guys are busy. Thank you. I'll just read what's on for the radio folks. It's Your Voice podcast fundraiser at Suberg Brewery, which is I think it's 2001 2nd Street in Davis. You can look it up. You can make reservations. And apparently people are making reservations already with live performance by Cowboys After Dark, Thursday, November 9th. The fundraiser starts at 4. So anybody who goes and orders anything from 4 until 9, the wonderful restaurant will generously donate a percentage. But the band doesn't play until 7 to 9 because they all work and go to school and they work hard. I'm so grateful for y'all to fit this in. And please don't be mad at me if you get a lot of requests to play other places because of this exposure.
Never be mad. Always a good thing.
Well, anytime there's a time for each of you to say like your closing thought. I don't know if you have like a message you want to say or just a closing thought or and then I'll just wrap up the last few seconds because I just really wanted to thank you and everyone else again.
Thank you for having us. It was a good time, explaining our history and how the band worked out, how it works out and everything on the podcast. Thanks for having us.
It's so fun. Thank you for being here. Henry, do you want to? Do you have a closing thought or anything you want the world to know?
I just want to thank you again for having us. This was great. I love promoting music, all that, and come out to Sudwork November 9th.
Thank you. How about you, Bernadette? We have 2 whole minutes, so.
Oh God, 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like they said, just thank you so much for having us. And I think it's super, super great that you're giving some exposure to like musicians our age and, people doing the sort of thing we do and at our level and just like trying to bring the community together through music because that's what we love to do. And we're super, super excited to play next Thursday. We've got a great set lined up. And hopefully we get to meet some of the people that are listening today. That'd be super awesome.
That would be super awesome. And I thought of another question because I realized we have a tiny bit more time. And I thought when you said that you love doing this for community, I wanted to ask you guys because I'm so grateful because any money that's being raised, I know that you're enhancing the amount. I know it will increase because you guys have volunteers. And I wanted to ask you what this might sound silly, but why, what makes you care so much about community? Obviously, each of you cares enough, to be generous like this.
Yeah, I think for me at least, I joined this band like right when I got to college. I wasn't super, super involved in any musical setting beforehand other than like individual classical training. And I think like being new to a place like Davis and being like 18 years old, I found this like super, super creative and kind community of college students and non-college students and people of all ages really who just love to like come together and make music and play music and do shows and have a good time. And it's my favorite group of people and I spend all my time with them and putting together stuff with them. So I think it's super, super important to keep this community going. And I hope other people find it and find their place in it because that's how it worked out for me.
Eric, do you want to add anything about, like, I know you give so much to the community in so many ways. Do you want to add anything about why how taking care of community and contributing community, well, like what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, people, we get together as a group and, like music's a good example. People come together with music and just have a good time, good for everyone, mental health and everything, which is awesome, what music could do for brings people together. Just,
That is a great point. Good for mental health. Such a great release. And Henry, before you talk, I want to answer Country Corners Gazette question, where is the band playing for this show? And I actually have to look at the, I think it's 2001 2nd Street in Davis, California. And you can look it up online, Sudwork Brewery. And it's also run by a very community-minded staff. And I'll shout out Trenton Jackson. Yes, we are related. A very dedicated, hardworking young man who just does everything he possibly can for anybody. So Sudwork Brewery, if I don't have the exact address right, they're definitely easy to find online. It's in Davis, California. And I think it's on 2nd Street. And it's beautiful. They've remodeled the whole thing. They have a new restaurant. They're, again, really generous. And it'll be really fun. Hope you can make it. And that one last question, that the clip that Rebel played where somebody was wearing a stormtrooper helmet. That was the drummer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that show?
Yeah, this was at, it's no longer labeled as this, but for a period of time, the building next to Trader Joe's was, what was it called? Like UFO Experience or something like that. And they would throw shows every now and then. And so Mason, without any of our knowledge, decided to play a 12-minute drum solo in a stormtrooper helmet, and it was pretty epic. It was pretty great.
Well, I was just going to spell Sudwork for anybody who is listening. I can't. It's Sudwerk. So it's a German word, Sudwerk. And their beers. I mean, they were like a brewery before craft breweries were a thing. They've been around, and Trenton has just taken it to another level. They're extremely creative, and they have an amazing artist who designs the paintings on the cans, and very kind. And so you can find it under Sudwerk Brewery in Davis. And gosh, it's hard to let you guys go. And you guys, any listeners or viewers around, you really got to come check them out. You got to come check them out live. It's just it's an experience. So I will now say thank you all for showing up here. I can't wait to see you next Thursday night at Sudwork Brewery in Davis. And I want to thank the listeners and viewers for tuning in. And thank you, Rebel, for all your help. And I'd like to thank our producer, Dean Piper. And we will see everyone next Wednesday, 8 p.m. on this show first, the day before the brewery. And I want to also wish everyone to have maybe all have enriching conversations in diversity this week. And thank you again.
Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate